yeah, what? Heaven. And I was not about.
My name is Kuliniasi. I am a theater artist. I am 26 and I'm from Milimbe province. So when I was a child, around, let's say 13, 14, I was diagnosed with rheumatic heart disease. And basically it meant that as a child I wasn't allowed to play sports. And so I found a lot of solace in the arts. I found a lot of my recreational activity was different. It was music, it was theater. And so I would also just always get bullied a lot because I was a very different child. And so what had happened was I wanted to escape myself by basically playing other characters, being another person on stage. And so that led to me going to the theater and trying out for a role, and then consistently I got more and more roles until I started writing and directing. But I think what really inspires me today to keep doing theater is the fact that there aren't that many stories for Papua New Guineans and for people and told by Papua New Guineans. Theater is, I found, one of the best tools to address social issues because you can put it as entertaining as possible, but also you can allow people to get really, really complex, really interesting, really complicated issues and simplify them and put them in a story and let people watch that. And there's a real beauty in that because the audience is now disarmed. A lot of the times when we say, oh, let's talk about HIV, let's talk about sickness, let's talk about death, people go, no, we don't want. But you put it in a story and you tell them a story, and that's what gets people's wheels turning. And so I found that that's just the most beautiful thing. When an audience comes to watch a story, they could not know what it's about. You know, they could just come and just sit down and you expose them to these different ideas, these different things, these different issues, and then they start going, ah, yeah, that's in my family. Oh, I saw that on the street the other time. Oh, yeah, this character is like me. And immediately you know that you're helping address an issue or helping start conversations about an issue that otherwise wouldn't happen in more formal forums. So every time I get a sensitive topic, and I've dealt with so many topics like HIV, gender-based violence, it's like all of these different topics. What I always have to do is understand the tolerance level of my audience and understand where's the middle ground for everybody. Because if I did a show recklessly without doing my research about a topic, I can end up causing more harm than good. And so whenever I sit down to write at my desk, whenever I sit down to plan out a show, I look at the topic in every angle. What are all the different viewpoints and how do I represent all the different viewpoints? And what is the most extreme viewpoint and then what is the most acceptable viewpoint? And then work up from what the most acceptable viewpoint is all the way up to the extreme. And you engage audiences by being entertaining, by creating moments where people can laugh even at themselves or during serious, tense situations. But then you also engage an audience to the types of stuff that they may not be ready to say out loud. If the audience won't say it out loud, it's okay, the character will say it. And there's a skill that you have to find in finding the middle ground on certain issues and then working from the middle ground all the way to what your goal is, to address the issues, make more conversation about it. It's something that I feel that every writer every creative needs to know so that they address issues properly. And sitting down and planning or writing a show is a huge task. If I had, for example, a character that was going through a situation of gender-based violence, you show the negative, of course, but you also show the positive. What is the most ideal way that she deal with this situation, and how do we then show that and portray that to empower somebody? So I can have a lot of messaging in my play, right? But I think at the end of the day, I don't want audiences to walk away feeling like they were fed something, feeling like I force-fed them, feeling like I forced a message on them. Especially in regards to like a lot of these tough, serious issues. I want the audience to walk away having watched a story in being, whether they were entertained or whether they cried or whether they laughed all the way through, and think about what it is that their personal message is. So I don't want to, yes, of course, when you write, you have your themes and you have your goals, but the story, you don't sacrifice the story for the message. You just tell the story and let audiences come up with their own feelings and their own message and their own takeaway. Because if you're an artist that's pushing a message, yes, there are lots of people that do that, but it's not my type of art. I want to provoke thought for people, not push agenda.